Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and in this video we're going to be doing a fairy light kit. However, I just want to take a moment first of all to appreciate the gorgeously cute packaging that this came in. Still got the barcode on the side. This is exactly how it came to me and I just think this is absolutely adorable. So let's go ahead and get this open and we'll have a look and see what comes inside. And inside each of the jam jars is this LED light strip with a battery compartment inside. I didn't actually realise when I was unpacking them at first, but one of the LED strips is a warm white and the other is actually multicoloured. So I'm just taking off the protective cover on the lid and just checking over the LED strip. I will need to get more batteries because they are AAA batteries which do not come in the kit, but that's to be expected. And like I say, we get 2 of these glass jam jars. We next get the black cutout shapes to go in the jar. I'll take a look at those later. We get a couple of handles for our jars. We get some decorations, so we get some of the rope and we get 2 bottles of clear liquid glue, which is always useful. They call it liquid gum, but it's basically clear PVA glue, which I will definitely be keeping hold of. They've given us absolutely loads, which I definitely won't be using all of that. Then we get 4 of these glue sponges, some ribbon, some glitter, which is iridescent glitter. Now this is plastic glitter, so please remember, do not throw this away or wash it down the sink. Dispose of this carefully if you can. And some instructions, which I will have a quick read of, and then we'll crack on with actually making our first jar. Okay, so I've emptied out the box and let's have a look and see what we have inside. So we have 2 of these glass jam jars, which are actually really quite high quality. Okay, so the instructions are really clear and easy to follow. So let's have a look and decide what shapes we're going to use on our jars. There's quite a few in there. I had spotted a unicorn on the Amazon listing, so I'm really hoping that there is a unicorn in there. So let's see what we have. We have like a Tinkerbell type figurine. We have a fairy with some filigree wings. We have a second fairy with filigree wings. We have the unicorn, which I definitely want to be using. We have like a little mermaid type. And we have a fairy sitting on a moon. So I'm just going to decide which one I'm going to use. Obviously, I'm going to use the unicorn because unicorns are my thing. I absolutely adore unicorns. I'm torn between either the fairy on the moon or the fairy with the filigree wings. I decide in the end I'm going to go with the fairy with the filigree wings. Just because I think the light coming through the filigree I think would be really nice. And I've already had one which is a solid silhouette, so I think something with a bit more variation to it would be a nice one to go for. So I'm just going to pop the rest away and then we're going to just prepare and start doing what we need to do with the jam jar. Okay, so I'm going to take my first jam jar, take off the lid, and this is a really simple craft to do. I'm just going to get rid of the stopper on my glue. And then I'm going to pop quite a large amount into the actual jar itself. And just making sure I've got plenty in there. And then I'm going to take one of the sponge brushes that they've given us and just make sure that the inside of the jar is fully coated with a good layer of glue. I don't want any of the sides of the jar to be missed. I'm not worried about getting the bottom of the jar because the bottom of the jar is not going to be seen, but I really want to make sure that there's a good coating over the entirety of the sides of the jar. and just getting right down, make sure I'm getting right into the corners. And this glue sponge that they've given us is actually really, really useful. There's no way that I can get my hand in there properly. I do get my hand in there a little bit later on, but I'm coating the neck there as well, which I didn't actually need to do because once you've got the lid screwed on, you can't see the neck, but it doesn't really matter. Then I'm getting my glitter, and I'm basically just dumping it into the bottom of the jam jar, and then I'm just going to swirl that around and make sure that I have the sides completely coated in glitter, and you can see it's really really coating it up there. So I'm just finishing that off, and I realise I've pretty much used up all the glitter that I've put in there, so I'm going to pop a bit more in, but I'm just getting the packaging that it was wrapped in, just spreading this out so you can see, and I'm just going to use that as a catch for what is left in the pot, just making sure that the jam jar is fully coated. I will be reusing what is it says in the instructions to throw away the excess. Well, I'm not a waster. I don't like wasting stuff. So I am going to actually catch what's coming out of the jar and pop that back into the pot to use for something else. Even if I use it for just card making or something like that, I will always use up the glitter. So I'm just tapping off the excess, and like I say, I'll be popping that back into the jam jar when I'm done. So I'm just going to pop that to one side to keep it safe. And pop the lid back on the glitter, of course. So just carefully moving that off to one side. And now the instructions say that I have to wait for a couple of hours for the jam jar, for the glue in the jam jar to dry. So this is how it looks at the moment. Really glittery, really sparkly. The next step is to put one of the black cutouts inside and glue that in. So I will be back in a few moments once I've let that dry. Okay, so firstly, if you can hear any snoring, I apologise, my dog is snoring behind me. But what I'm doing now is I'm just taking some of the glue. I've put some of it onto just a piece of card, and I'm just using that to spread it over the back of the unicorn, making sure that it's fully coated. And then I will be just peeling that off the paper, off the card, and attaching that into the jar itself. This bit is a little bit fiddly, see, I'm trying to stick it on top of the glitter. I end up using the brush, the back of the brush, and the actual handle of the brush itself to push it into place. I did manage to drop it as well, which is not great. But yes, I just try and push it in, try and get it relatively straight so it looks like it's rearing. And there you can see me just pushing it in, making sure it's attached fully. I'm getting glitter all over my hands as I do this, but it's not too bad. So I'm just pushing it on, making sure it's fully secure, and then I'm just going to set that to one side to dry. So just before I set it aside to dry, I just filled it over went over the unicorn with a bit of extra glue just to make sure it's going to be completely sealed in there. And now I'm just unwinding the LED lights, and then I'm just going to pop those into the jar. So I'm just feeding the lights into the jar. They're a little bit finicky, but they do eventually go in. And I'm just going to pop the lid on. And it's only now I've got the lights fed in that I've realised I've forgotten to put the handle on. So I'm going to just unscrew the jar lid and hope that the lid will actually go through the handle. Luckily it does. So as you see here, I'm just going to pop that on through there. And then just pop the handle onto the actual jam jar itself. Luckily it's quite easy to get on. It just snaps down quite easily. So just a couple of pushes and it's on pretty securely. The next step then is simply to decorate the jam jar. So I'm just going to pop the lid back on, make sure that everything stays down quite tightly. And this is how it looks so far. So I'm going to take some of the decorations that they gave us, and for this one I'm just going to use the rope that they gave us. I'm going to cut a short length of that and just tie that around the neck of the jam jar. So I'm just tying it around the neck of the jam jar now. Just going to tie it in a short, in a small knot. I don't think I'm even going to tie it in a bow. I just think a knot will look quite good for this one. So just finishing off the knot there. There we go. And then I'll just trim the ends of the string. Tighten it all up. Make sure it's all neat, and there we go. And this is what it looks like when it's turned on. And as you can see, this is the white light LEDs. And I think that looks absolutely adorable. So I am going to pop this to one side now. I'm going to do the other jar, and we'll see how they look like together. So this is how the finished jars look, both this one and the fairy one. And then I'll pop a quick photo up of how they look together. And that's it. That's a really simple project, but really effective. I love how they look. And yeah, this is definitely something that I would highly recommend. So once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.